Imagine a world where the Industrial Revolution didn't happen in 18th century London, but in the 13th century BC along the banks of the Nile, a timeline where the first satellite in orbit wasn't named Sputnik, but the Eye of Horus. Modern history is a catastrophe of lost time. We are living through a 3,000-year delay in human development, trailing far behind the technological schedule we should have occupied. We occupied this specific century with these specific limitations because a single ruler chose the comfort of a stalemate over the risk of absolute victory. In 1258 BC, Ramses II signed the world's first recorded peace treaty. History books celebrate this as the birth of international diplomacy, a high watermark for ancient statecraft. This silver tablet functioned as a strategic screen for a massive military failure. It replaced the hard reality of conquest with the soft illusion of a negotiated peace. By prioritizing the maintenance of his borders over the destruction of his rivals, Ramses effectively pulled the emergency brake on the engine of human civilization. The turning point occurred at Kadesh, where the Egyptian and Hittite empires, the two dominant superpowers of the Bronze Age, collided in a struggle for total regional control. Ramses returned home and flooded his empire with propaganda. Every temple relief depicted him as a lone warrior, charging into the Hittite lines and achieving a solo victory through the grace of the god Amun. In reality, Ramses fell for a simple ruse. Hittite spies lured him into a massive ambush that decimated his elite divisions. He barely escaped with his life, leaving the strategic objective of the campaign entirely unfulfilled. The Hittite Empire remained completely intact, guarding a capital built from unyielding stone, backed by a military infrastructure far more advanced than Egypt's. Ramses returned to Egypt as a defeated general, orchestrating an unprecedented PR campaign to mask a tactical collapse and preserve his status as a living god. The Hittites held a secret that made Egyptian bronze obsolete: the ability to forge iron. As this diagram shows, iron weapons maintain a lethal edge and absorb impacts that would easily shatter a bronze blade. A master strategist would have used the 1258 treaty as a deceptive pause, a decade of hybrid warfare designed to bridge this technological gap. Egypt needed to infiltrate Hittite forges, steal the secret of iron smelting, and industrialize its entire military to transform into an ironclad superpower. Instead, Ramses signed a treaty of fear. He chose the stability of the status quo, legitimizing his greatest rival, and ensuring that the secret of iron remained in foreign hands. He diverted the empire's vast resources away from technological R&D and into these massive, static stone statues, monuments to a king who stopped moving forward. By failing to capture and weaponize the iron monopoly, Ramses capped Egypt's growth and guaranteed that his empire would eventually be overtaken by those who actually mastered the forge. If Ramses had secured that iron monopoly, the timeline shifts. An industrialized Egypt would have unified the Mediterranean basin 8 centuries before Rome. This Pax Aegyptiaca would have been strong enough to prevent the Bronze Age collapse, the systemic breakdown that wiped out most Mediterranean civilizations and threw science into a 1,000-year coma. With no dark ages to reset the clock, Egyptian priests, already masters of astronomy and medicine, would have focused the planet's entire intellectual capital on the pharaoh's ultimate goal: physical immortality through science. If the mathematical precision used for the pyramids had been applied to ironworking and hydraulic engineering without interruption, the development of early steam power by 800 BC becomes a matter of logical progression. Our world would be built on digital hieroglyphs. Western languages and the Latin alphabet would likely be the forgotten dialects of unassimilated northern tribes. Without the 3,000-year interruption of the Dark Ages and the medieval era, the trajectory of Egyptian physics suggests humanity would have established a presence on Mars centuries ago. The failure of Ramses II provides a clear strategic warning for modern leaders and entrepreneurs operating in high-stakes environments. In any competitive landscape, peace and compromise are often simply terms used to describe strategic fatigue. Ramses confused a temporary stalemate with a permanent victory. He turned his empire into a museum, focusing on preserving the past while his technological advantage evaporated. When you hold a technological edge, or a rival is vulnerable, Every second spent negotiating is a second spent surrendering your future dominance. Textbooks call him the Great because of the scale of his monuments, but a strategic audit reveals him as the architect of a massive historical stagnation. Maintaining the status quo is not a pause, it is a regression. We are still living in the shadow of the moment Ramses II chose comfort over the future.